next fixture that we are previewing will take place at Loftus Versfeld Stadium on Saturday evening. It will be Mamelodi Sundowns, team that finished second last season in the Nedbank Cup, playing up against Sibanye Golden Stars, joined here by coach Miguel Cardoso from the home team, Mamelodi Sundowns, just to preview the fixture. Coach, I'm not sure, you probably just, I'm not sure when you traveled back from Polokwane, and whether you've been trained today. Have you had a chance to, prepare for this one? Have you done your homework on Sibanye? Was it difficult, maybe, finding information on them? And what can we expect come the weekend?
So good afternoon, gents, mems. It's a pleasure to be here with you. And thank you very much for your question. Just to introduce, it's very funny because we're seeing all these micros in front of me. I remember one press conference I had, I was a little bit upset. And there's a moment I punched the table and everything fell in front of me. All the journalists were so upset with me because everything fell, and something like, so very, very interesting moment. Regarding your question, I have to speak the truth. We arrived very late yesterday in Joburg. And basically, I took the decision to give a day off to everybody. So today, we work with the players that had necessity to and being taken care by the medical department. I myself, in the morning, started to obviously prepare the next match. My staff during the last days already work on our opponent. It's an opponent that we went to see live. The last game we didn't had much more information before, but now we are more than aware of which kind of team we're going to play. It's a match that we need to play with a big respect, like all the matches that we play, considering our opponent and not thinking about where they come from, but what they want from the match. Because if you look where they come from, maybe you can make already a mistake in the way you approach the game. So we're gonna approach the game in a very serious way. That's the only way you can win the tricky matches that usually cups bring. So we don't want to get to be surprised. We want to be very serious, and I'll be very serious on the way I demand our players to face the game. This is not only respect by our opponent, it's respect by ourselves, it's respect for the competition, because it's a very important competition that we want to arrive in their last stage, and then obviously play to win.
Thank you. Let's take the first question from Carabo. How's your Portuguese? Impress us.
Portuguese speaker?
Yeah, fala português.
Fantastic.
Coach, this is actually the first time I'm seeing you. Congratulations on the job. It's a beautiful job that you got, so congratulations. And secondly, Coach, you've been here for the past 44 days, Max 44 days here to trade for you. How have you found it so far? Are you settling in? Is the team playing this type of football that you want? And secondly, Temba's running a couple of days ago. For the first time, he's smelling the grass. How far is he? Have you spoken to him in regards to what you expect from him?
Thank you very much for the question. First, regarding how I feel here in South Africa and among you. Today in the morning I was having a cappuccino with my assistant coach, and we were making a review on these 44 days, as you said, and how excited and how wonderful has been the ride, let's say. So we were very well received by the club. We have a wonderful group. Yesterday I was telling that we have a very, very strong group of men, and the club is very, very, very easy to deal with because it's very friendly, very polite. The way we relate with ourselves and between ourselves is amazing. I can even share an event because it speaks for the level of club that I found, and how I feel so integrated, because it comes also regarding my values. So there's a big connection between the values of the club and the values that I have myself. So yesterday on the bus, because some bottles of water stayed in the locker room, and there was someone that filmed it and put it in our WhatsApp group, something like, we don't do this usually, so let's not make it again. So this is the standard we have in Sundowns, is respect, values by the other, a very strong and commitment regarding, of course, sports results, but also by the way we want to be an inspiration for everybody. So that's why it's so easy for me to deal with the people, because I have also this kind of approach in life, in sports. I like sportsmanship, I like fair play, but I also like to compete in the hardest way when you are inside. So that's how Sundowns is positioning in the world of sports and football. It's also the values of the family WhatsApp, and that I could totally share. So regarding your first question, has been easy to deal with, because we were very well received. So regarding second question and Temba situation, it's unfortunately we arrived in the club when a couple of important players are injured. It's not only Temba, but also Mabala, but also then we had the Aubrey that got injured also in the match in Far. We have Mabena, we had Tashrik still in that moment. And unfortunately, we have to, let's see how today the reports come from medical department, because it seems that this pitch there in Polokwane is not exactly the best one to play football. So yesterday we had some issues also. So I hope they are not very serious issues, so that we can, as quick as possible, recover. But also we have more players that are under injury, unfortunately, and let's hope we can recover them all. Regarding Temba, I think it's still a situation that will take time. Despite he entered the pitch, he starts running, touching very easily the ball, but it's still a process that will take time. For sure months. So not big expectations regarding him to return to the team, but giving the right time for him to make the steps, the protocols that need to be followed, so that he can recover and come back in the best way, of course.
Okay, Mazola.
Thank you, Coach. Mazola Malife from SABC Sport. I wanted to find out if in your previous clubs you kind of had to prepare for an amateur league side that you knew very little about, and how did you go about that? And if you haven't, how are you going about coming off an intense game like Makesi last night, and then having to motivate the players to face a team that many of us know very little about?
Sorry, but I didn't understand the first part of your question regarding my...
If in your previous jobs you had to prepare for a lower league team or an amateur side, and how did you go about?
Okay, thank you. That's exactly the question on the moment. And you don't prepare players for this kind of matches on the day before. You need to prepare an attitude in a general and regular basis. That's what we've been doing since we arrived in the club, so that we understand that it's not a matter of who you play against, it's a matter of how you want to be, how you want to live. So it's constructing an attitude more than just trying to find the motivation for playing a match. I don't believe in short-term motivation. I don't believe in external motivation. I believe in drive, I believe in pursuit, I believe in attitude as a way to live. So that's what we are trying to build or keep hard inside the locker room in terms of values. And if we live according to these values, that's the way you're going to behave all the time. That's how I see myself as a coach. That's how I was grown when I started very young in FC Porto Academy. And I'm happy that I had there 9 years, and then on my career I went in several clubs where the demands to win are very strong. Shakhtar Donetsk, for example, and then in professional football also several experiences on that level. So I believe much more, just to repeat it again, on growing something that is common to everybody, putting everybody in the same level, putting everybody in the same thoughts, understanding that how you prepare every day is what makes the difference, and now how you're going to face a certain moment during the season. So I think we have been shown in the last weeks how tough we are, how we believe in ourselves, even despite we face long and big challenges. It was not easy, the challenges we had in the Champions League. because we played very, very decisive games since we arrived. The first game with Raja was already a decisive game because we had 2 draws in the first 2 matches, so we needed to win. Then we have Maniema game, we have Asfar away, then we have Asfar home. And then the PSL is every game is very tough. So the team is overcoming difficulties because you are trying to shape character. And if character is shaped in the right way, I believe that also the match we're going to play after tomorrow will be held in that level and will be very competitive and very serious in the approach.
Thank you, Coach. So the score is currently 1-0 to Karabo. Kamu, you've got a chance to equalize. What are you going to take the
Greetings, Coach. I'm Khaled Bukhari from BOFM. Just a follow-up from my colleague's first question. I think I stand to be correct here. I think most of the games that you have played thus far has been on the continent. I think prior to yesterday's game, you played, I think, 1 or 2 domestic games.
3.
Yes, thank you for the correction, Coach. So far, with the games that you have played domestically, how are you finding the league and also now getting a taste of your first domestic cup competition?
Very, very good question. So indeed it was 4 Champions League games and now also 4 PSL matches, and all of them very, very difficult. All of them very difficult because, as you know, in PSL we didn't yet play a home match, so we played 4 times away. And even in Champions League, we played 2 games home and 2 games away. So out of 8, we had 6 away matches, what makes obviously more difficult the task. Anyway, very good experience. We have wonderful fans around the country. I was so keen on knowing this way to celebrate football. Because here, when you go in a football match, it's different from, for example, my last experience in the north of Africa, in Tunisia, where the fans are more aggressive, much more aggressive. Even you cannot play with the fans from both teams, what is not beautiful in a basic way of seeing football. But here the experience has been wonderful. Regarding fans, fantastic. Ambiences in the stadium, fantastic. Big respect by everybody that is on the show, let's say, on the matches, and people love football. So it's also wonderful to see that we are in a country where people love football. Anyway, regarding the level of the teams, very competitive teams that don't give up on nothing, that believe. No matter how they will play, but believe they can compete to win. So we found always matches where the opponents could believe there was a chance to play to get points. So that allows us to have big challenges all the time, not to take out the feet from the accelerator, otherwise you can lose points, as we see from the match of yesterday, where from a mistake we suffered a goal and then we had to make a big effort to overcome that difficulty. But also a little bit tough to deal with the quality of the pitches, because that's something I think we should really think about in South Africa regarding the watering of the pitches. Because if we understand that football is a merchandise, is something we sell, because there's the public watching games, there's TV rights that are paid, and people at home, as better is the show, the better they will profit from it, the better the rights will be sold by higher prices. And there's no reason to try to equalize the games by having slow pitches with low quality, where the grass is not cutted and the water is not done. This is not how the show should be done. It's when you go in a cinema or in an amphitheater like this, you want people to sit in the right places so that the show can be good. And then the outcome of it is the quality of the movie you have. That's how I see football in the same. We provide the best conditions for the teams to perform, and then in the end, that's a product we sell. That's an appointment I did already, and I think it's a good moment to speak about that, because in the end, everybody wants the level of the football to grow. And by my experiences, if we're going to play a World Cup, a CAF competition, a CAN, whatever it is, and Champions League matches, you have to go according to the rules, and watering the pitches before warm-up, after warm-up, in the half-time improves the level of the game. And as much as the level is high, as much the quality and the level of the opportunities to sell our rights the best, because we have fantastic football here and it should be taken abroad, even in Europe. Why not? We have wonderful football matches here that I profited from, and wonderful derbies and classic matches that should be sold abroad, even in Europe, by high prices. So that's what just a remark that I think it's positive. It's nothing to point on negative, but positive, so that also I can give my contribute to the South African football.
Jabulo.
Jabulo from News 24. Coach, how have you found the situation where from the first day you arrived and you had to win from the onset in terms of the games that you were playing, but also planning for a very challenging situation where the club is not going to get much rest? I mean, there's the Club World Cup, which means 2 seasons are going to be linked. So how do you manage that, winning from the onset, but managing these 2 seasons that are linked?
Thank you. Also a very interesting and important question, because we spoke a lot about, and we have been listening to the big coaches of the teams that have high-level competition throughout the season, so that are arriving at the end of the season with 60 matches played. It's tough, very tough. I will not take an appointment on that, but obviously the calendars and the schedule of the calendars, they should be really well organized, because when you play matches in 72 hours time distances between them, it's dramatic for injuries on the players, and the best players should be always protected, so that we have also the best ones as much as possible on the pitches, by the same fact that I spoke before, so that we can have highest level football. It's a tough calendar. Anyway, for me as a coach, it's always much better to be in contexts where the pressure is to win, because believe me, it's much more difficult when you are in contexts where you see that the chance to win is reduced and you have to fight for this margin. And it's much more beautiful, your work, when you can handle in context and change context, because you have quality players that you can introduce to change the tactical approach on the games. So, and due to that, be able to compete to win all the time. It's the challenge I faced in Sundowns. It's the challenge I faced during the last seasons, and it's a pleasure of the coach. So having a tough calendar makes you always be involved in the games. A lot of work, tired many times, not many hours of sleep, several nights. But anyway, that's what we love, and when you work in what we love, that keeps you going. And let's hope we can continue to win, so that motivation is always on the top, because it's more easy to work over victories than when you don't achieve them. So we are motivated, we are in the right mindset in order to make it and keep it going. And due to that, we can obviously maintain our levels of work in the way we need them.
Okay, I will take the last one. Tell me.
Coach, I just want to find out what your stance is on the size of your squad and the role it plays in the dressing room. I'll give you an example. At Sundowns, you have the luxury of having 3 or 4 players in the same position. Sometimes all of them are internationals. What is your stance on keeping sometimes players that are perhaps unhappy with the fact that they aren't playing, and knowing what it could do to the dressing room, having disgruntled players? Just your stance on that. Are you happy to let players go if they aren't in your plans, or do you keep them around as good to have, nice to have players?
Thank you. I totally understand your question, despite it's a very sensible question. I cannot speak by the past. What I can speak is by the talks that we have been having in the club, between the sports direction, the board, the president and the chairman, and myself. Obviously, we understand that it's not easy in South Africa to put on loan in the right contexts the level of players that also we have and also come from our academy. So sometimes the situations of having players don't come necessarily from the fact that we want to keep them. It also comes from the fact that we try to find the right environment so that they can indeed give the next step. And the club is trying to make it. Probably during the season you'll have surprises regarding how we approach ourselves in terms of giving a space, a competitive space for our basically youngsters after they get out of the academy from this key team, and how they can close the gap between this key team and first team, so that they don't stay for 2-3 years, as you said, being non-extra, because they are not extra. They just demand from me extra work to give training sessions to all of them, and sometimes it's very hard. Something like finishing a session and keep going with the players that didn't participate, because football game is a 20 plus 2 goalkeepers game, so you cannot exercise with teams of 15. But you need to give game time and training time to everybody. That is the challenge. Anyway, this is a very particular season that we are facing, because as we spoke already, we have several injured players. I forgot Rivaldo. Don't forget Rivaldo, how with the level of player that also we have injured. We had Grant also. When I arrived, Grant was injured. So it means that in the moment the team is not that big at all. Because obviously, if you ask me how you yourself would consider a squad in a normal country, between commas, normal country, but in a normal schedule of games where you play, we have weeks with 2 games, but then you have weeks with just weekend games. Probably a squad with 24 plus goalkeepers would be enough. Even myself, for a regular basis, 22 players plus the goalkeepers would be enough. But we are not in a normal situation. Indeed, as I told you yesterday, I don't know, but probably we lost 2 players after the match of yesterday. So, and probably the same from the same position, because you saw that Mudau Kulisso, he got out after 20 minutes, and then also Morena Tapelo got out. So now we need to find a right back. We don't need to find, because we have. But it's an unexpected situation that comes from the fact that we played a lot of matches, and we should remember also that, and it's true, our national team players, we have a lot of them. So when we have breaks for national teams, our players, they just don't stop. And Africa competitions bring us or put us the challenge of long time travels. I don't know if you are aware of how it was for us to travel to play Asfar. It was unbelievable, because it was a 5-day trip. Since the moment we departed from here and we came back, almost 6 days, with our nights that we didn't sleep in the proper way. So that's why sometimes the squads need to be extended. Not because we want it to happen like that or to have the luxury of keeping players. We don't do that, because we also worry about the careers of our players. So in the moment we are discussing a couple of situations in the group that eventually will let the players go out, but we need to find the right place where to put them. Because sometimes also they say, there is not the best context for me. We are even discussing possibilities of finding agreements in Europe so that we can try to promote our players there. So that's the work of Mr. Flemingberg that he's doing so well, that will for sure give fruits in the next months. And I hope that next season we can already have some news on that for everybody to be aware. Thank you very much.